Hello colleagues and members of the House of Delegates. My name is Derik Sven, President-elect of Virginia's chapter and first alternate for its delegation. I speak in strong support of both PR25 put forward by the Virginia delegation and PR28 put forward by the Board of Directors. These proposals address a critically under-recognized component of oral health care, our partners in the dental laboratory industry, and the dangerous regulatory void that has persisted for far too long. Let me begin by saying I am one of the very few professionals in the country who has earned both the Certified Dental Technician CDT credential and licensure as a registered dental hygienist. I bring this forward not for distinction, but because it gives me a vantage point that most will never have: the opportunity to understand firsthand the clinical, ethical, and public health implications of what occurs behind the closed doors of dental laboratories across the country. These resolutions, PR25, which calls for the unbundling of dental laboratory fees from procedural codes, and PR28, which supports the National Association of Dental Laboratories model bill for statutory laboratory regulation, are not simply administrative improvements. They are acts of ethical leadership. They are patient protection policies rooted in the principles we strive to uphold: autonomy, veracity, non-maleficence, and justice. Let's talk about autonomy. Patients cannot make informed decisions about their dental restorations if the source material, quality of their prosthesis is hidden from both them and the dentist ordering it. Bundling procedure codes creates an environment where dentists working within the confines of insurance reimbursements face the dilemma of using a quality lab with known materials or obtaining restorations for pennies on the dollar overseas, setting the stage for iatrogenic periodontitis and systemic health risks. Veracity, truthfulness demands that we be honest with our patients about the risks of unregulated materials. When a restoration fails because of toxic alloys or poorly cast substructures or substandard ceramics, it is the patient who suffers, not the practice, not the lab, and not the insurer. Non-maleficence, do no harm, requires us to acknowledge a hard truth. Patients are being harmed by unregulated labs. The NADL, through its news stories and my own interviews with Chief Executive Bennett Napier, has documented case after case of ill-fitting, non-FDA cleared, and even contaminated restorations entering the US market. And justice, particularly economic justice, demands that we protect patients from being victims of a system that incentivizes corner cutting to protect profit margins. Here I want to briefly present documented facts and supporting research relevant to this issue. The material is drawn directly from the sections of my professional lecture, The Dental Lab Unveiled, a dual perspective for clinical and forensic applications. If any components are interested in a full presentation at a later date, I would be happy to offer that. For now, I will be walking through the most pertinent sections to ensure all delegates are working from the same factual foundation. Additionally, I have made the full presentation handout, complete with citations, available for those who wish to cross-reference the material in more detail. Iatrogenic periodontal issues. These are problems we've all encountered in practice. They often result from well-intentioned but flawed dental work. Common examples include biologic width violations, root canal treatments with persistent infection, ill-fitting crowns that trap plaque or irritate tissue, and even metal sensitivities. Each of these can trigger or worsen periodontal disease, highlighting the importance of quality restorations. Hypersensitivity reactions to dental cast metal alloys are well documented, especially in European studies, where about 20 high-quality papers have explored this issue. These reactions can cause localized lesions in tissues that contact the restoration. Clinical presentations include contact lichenoid reactions, dermatitis, mucositis, glossitis, atypical gingivitis, and in some cases, rapidly progressing periodontitis. Patients often report burning sensations in the affected tissues. These reactions are frequently under-recognized, but can have significant periodontal consequences. Here we have two case studies. Both patients are male in their 60s. The first is a physician, the second a dental sales professional. Both present with alloy-based restorations fabricated around 2010. Neither had ever been tested for metal allergies. Importantly, Neither patient was taking calcium channel blockers or other medications known to induce gingival hyperplasia. Both patients were treated with non-surgical scaling and root planing multiple times and improved home care regimes with no success. Also of note, the patient's charts were void of the restoration's contents or laboratory of origin, underscoring the role of unrecognized hypersensitivity and material incompatibility in these cases, and the need for reporting and documentation. Let's look at the economic shift in dental lab fees. In 1993, a lab charged about $100 for a crown, and the dentist billed the patient roughly $500, about a 25% lab cost margin, similar to the 33% production baseline hygienists are held to in business metrics. Fast forward to 2023, labs now compete to offer crowns for as little as $50 to $100, while the ADA's 2020 survey of fees reports an average crown fee to patients exceeding $1,200, a 140% increase. While profitability is expected, decimating an entire sector of skilled dental technicians for the sake of profit margins can only end in disaster. Historically, the industry standard held that lab fees should account for 20 to 25% of the total crown fee. However, through the influence of consultants and mounting economic pressures, many dentists have been led to believe that the lab cost should be now less than 10%. This shift places unsustainable pressure on dental laboratories, compromising quality and undermining an essential part of the restorative process. Dental laboratories today face enormous economic pressures. They simply can't compete with foreign labor costs. Many labs now outsource portions of their work overseas, often leading to a rise in black market materials and cheaper, lower quality products. The number of skilled technicians in the US has dropped significantly. Domestically, many labs are being bought up by large corporate conglomerates. Internationally, mega labs in China, Vietnam, India, and Mexico are driving prices even lower, putting further strain on the sustainability and integrity of the US dental lab industry. And here's the consequence. In 2008, an elderly woman in Ohio received a 3-unit dental bridge. Soon after placement, she suffered a severe reaction and insisted it be removed. Only then did her dentist disclose that the bridge had been fabricated in an offshore lab in China. The patient sent the bridge for chemical testing. Results showed dangerously high lead levels, 490 parts per million. The journalist who broke the story was already investigating overseas dental restorations. Testing revealed that some contained up to 210 parts per million of lead. For context, after the 2007 toy recall crisis, the US Congress lowered the legal limit for lead in children's toys to just 90 parts per million. In that case, toy maker Mattel paid $12 million in settlements for distributing lead-contaminated toys. Yet here we are seeing higher lead levels in materials permanently placed in patients' mouths. Even the ADA's leadership acknowledged the seriousness of the problem. At the time, ADA President Dr. Mark Feldman stated, "There is no appropriate use for lead in the manufacturing of dental prostheses." He went on to say, "Our task now is to learn what the ADA can do to help prevent our members and our patients from ever hearing this kind of news again." Despite this strong statement, meaningful safeguards remain inconsistent today. Just a few months later in 2009, the ADA issued a special report to dentists, now redacted but preserved in the NADL's archives. The report noted that the ADA was analyzing lead content in dental crowns, with full details pending scientific publication. Yet it also downplayed concerns, stating that lead was unlikely to be released into the oral cavity or ingested by patients. Their findings identified lead in the feldspathic porcelain, not the alloy, and testing was limited to acidic environments. Critically, they did not assess real-world factors like masticatory wear or occlusal adjustments, both of which can significantly alter exposure risks. Ironically, the ADA did fulfill Dr. Feldman's promise to help prevent our members and our patients from ever hearing this kind of news again, but not through transparency or reform. Instead, they bury the study and sideline the evidence. The issue quietly disappeared from mainstream discourse, leaving both practitioners and patients largely unaware of the risks that had been uncovered and may persist to this day. As of June last year, 37 out of 50 states still have no regulation of dental laboratories. Of the 13 states that do, requirements are inconsistent and often inadequate. Only 10 states require material disclosure to patients, just 11 require disclosure of point of origin to the dentist. Only 6 states mandate the dentist to use registered dental labs, and shockingly, only 4 states require that even a single certified dental technician be employed in the lab. The regulatory gaps are undeniable and serve only one purpose: to keep dentist costs low, no matter the harm patients experience. This problem did not end in 2008. It has continued for years, with reports surfacing again and again. In 2013, an unregulated Ohio dental lab was found being run by a convicted felon. The inside, something that looked from a horror story. And the contents of those restorations being placed in patients' mouths. In 2015, an ABC 15 report exposed similar issues in Arizona. By 2023, another Arizona case revealed a lab operated by a felon next to a laundromat and drug den. Most recently, in 2024, an unregulated Indiana lab producing AGA devices was sued and placed under criminal investigation, never once inspected by the FDA. This exposes the fragile and false argument made by dental societies that FDA oversight alone is sufficient to protect the public. I want you to take a listen to these reports.
Is a crown, a bridge, or some other type of dental implant? Tens of millions of Americans do, but do you really know what's in your mouth? Who made it, or even where it came from?
Well, here's the scary part. The majority of dentists, they don't know either. Tonight, it's another troubling chapter in ABC 15 investigator Dave Biscobing's Dental Dangers report.
Shocking video of a lab in Ohio came to light during a police scandal.
The basement lab, run by a convict.
He learned his job in prison. The dentures being made here sold to Ohio dentists.
Disgusting? Yes. But illegal? No. How tightly regulated of an industry is this?
It's largely unregulated.
Bennett Napier is with the National Association of Dental Laboratories. When you say unregulated, do you mean that anybody can essentially do this and anybody can open up a lab and create dentures or crowns or whatever?
That is correct.
In our country, only 5 states require labs to have technicians who are certified or have education. Other than that, it's free reign. And that goes for the products too. In more than 40 states, there are no safety, health, or quality standards. The lack of regulation is so unbelievable, most dentists don't know it's the case. An American Dental Association survey found 65% of dentists believe dental labs in their state were regulated.
I would never assume that.
Arizona's family is investigating a convicted felon now running a dental lab. And he's not hiding his work. He has billboards all over town. Turns out it's been going on for years.
In fact, he is operating out of the same storefront he used to use to sell drugs. Investigator Amy Cutler is here in the studio tonight. All this is legal, but people are wondering how. And they also have a number of safety concerns as well.
Yeah, of course. And that's why we wanted to take a closer look at this. The State Dental Board, police, and the State Attorney General's office all investigated this business and its owner, who took a plea deal on the drug charges. It's all possible because the state doesn't regulate dental labs, meaning no one is inspecting them or doing any background checks. The State Dental Board declining to talk to Arizona's Family Investigates on camera, but they confirmed they looked into it and that ELAM is not licensed. The board says, quote, "We have no jurisdiction over dental labs. Unfortunately, the information we were provided did not indicate the lab technician was doing dentistry. Lack of regulation is frustrating, but not surprising to Bennett Napier with the National Association of Dental Laboratories."
It's a consumer safety issue. So, the devices that are being prescribed and placed in the patient's mouth are a medical device.
That the dental lab that made the device was never inspected by the FDA, at least not before our investigation.
It told us it did not believe it was required to inspect John's Dental prior to 2018 because it was under the impression the company was operating as a dental lab, which does not make its own devices as opposed to a manufacturer.
I think the structural pieces are what's most concerning to us in the sense that dental schools don't teach restorative dentistry anymore effectively. There's no clock hours, and that's been that way for a while. And so the rationale that we've used with ADA and state dental boards is if you're not teaching dental students to do it, you're not teaching assistants to do it. Who's doing it? Who's got the knowledge? So if you're actually not going to support continuing education or certification for technicians, then it's basically the blind leading the blind, is the way we term it. Meaning who has the knowledge to make the best recommendations.
Who is it that made the bill on transparency dead on arrival? The ADA?
No, it was at the state level. It was at the state level. So it was the state dental associations. There were about 3 states. Georgia was one of them. I think Alabama was one as well, where a legislator or a couple of legislators had filed bills related to patient right to know, and they never got a committee hearing because the state dental society said, that's our turf, and we don't want that as a consumer protection, if you will.
I have seen with my own eyes what happens when lab owners are forced to choose between quality and survival. I have seen miscontoured crowns, clinically unacceptable bridges, implants with unacceptable emergence profiles, iatrogenic harm being fabricated on a daily basis. When prosthetics are poorly made, periodontal breakdown is inevitable. This is not a hypothetical. This is a daily reality in practices across the country. And here's the point that ties this all together. What organized dentistry has done to the dental laboratory profession, deregulating it into near invisibility, mirrors the tactics being deployed today against dental hygienists. The same economic forces, the same dismissal of credentialed expertise, the same encroachment under the guise of cost-cutting and efficiency. PR25 and PR28 are not just about dental labs. They are a mirror to our own future if we remain silent. Now let's be clear. PR25 is not a disruption to existing dental practices. It is a refinement. It supports transparency, not interference. The language was carefully chosen. And PR28, the endorsement of the NADL's model legislation, is a signal to our silent partners, the dental laboratory technicians, that their work matters, and that we will not stand by while quality is sacrificed in the name of convenience. This model bill is not a radical reinvention. It simply requires that laboratories register, employ at least one CDT, disclose material contents and origins, and follow OSHA's infectious disease protocols. That is a baseline, not a burden. We speak often in this association about elevating the standard of care. PR25 and PR28 are opportunities to practice what we preach, to support the professionals who help us restore form, function, and health, and to ensure that what we place in our patients' mouths is worthy of their trust. This is our moment to lead where organized dentistry has failed, not just for hygienists, not just for the technicians, but for the patients we all serve. Thank you for your consideration.